Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari. Jaya Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramamsa Parivrajakacharyas Tathata Shatta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Shri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Iskan Delhi Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is a reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, Text 17. Puryastu Payopavane Divyadrumalatakule Nadadbahangali Kula Kola Halajalashaye Puyastu Bayopavane Divyadruma Latakule Nadad Dehangali Kula Kola Halajalashaye Puyastu Bayopavane Divyadruma Latakule Nadadyangali Kula Kula Halajalashaye Mataji's. Puyastu Mayopavane Yaha of that town. 2. Then Vaya Upavane. in an outside garden. Divya, very nice. Druma, trees. Lata, creepers. Akule, filled with. Nadat, vibrating. Vyahanga, birds. Ali, bees. Kula, groups of. Kolahala, humming. Jala ashaye, with a lake. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. On the outskirts of that city were many beautiful trees and creepers encircling a nice lake. Also surrounding that lake were many groups of birds and bees that were always chanting and humming. Please repeat responsively. On the outskirts of that city were many beautiful trees and creepers encircling a nice lake. Also surrounding that lake were many groups of birds and bees that were always chanting and humming. Purport. Since the body is a great city, there must be various arrangements, such as lakes and gardens, for sense enjoyment. Of the various parts of the body, those which incite sexual impulses are referred to here indirectly. Because the body has genitals, when the living entity attains the right age, be he man or woman, he becomes agitated by the sex impulse. As long as one remains a child, he is not agitated by seeing a beautiful woman. Although the sense organs are present, unless the age is right, there is no sex impulse. The favorable conditions surrounding the sex impulse are compared here to a garden or a nice solitary park. When one sees the opposite sex, naturally the sex impulse increases. It is said that if a man in a solitary place does not become agitated upon seeing a woman, he is to be considered a brahmachari. But this practice is almost impossible. The sex impulse is so strong that even by seeing, touching, or talking, coming into contact with, or even thinking of the opposite sex, even in so many subtle ways, one becomes sexually impelled. Consequently, a brahmachari or sannyasi is prohibited to associate with women, especially in a secret place. The Shastras enjoin that one should not even talk to a woman in a secret place, even if she happens to be one's own daughter, sister, or mother. The sex impulse is so strong that even if one is very learned, he becomes agitated in such circumstances. If this is the case, how can a young man in a nice park remain calm and quiet after seeing a beautiful young woman? Om Agina Tamarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vikasha Swaminiti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharnane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripasunumi Vacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thus continues the narration of the story of Maharaj Paranjana. So the different aspects of the body hereinbefore have been described, and now the centers of pleasure in the great city that Paranjana lives in are now being described. And these lakes and parks are compared to the organs, the generative organs in the human being. So the sex pleasure is considered the highest of the material pleasures. So we can see that in the world that everything is going on according to the sex pleasure. Everybody is chasing after that. In the advertisements, you can see that products are sold with scantily clad women, or the liquor is almost always advertised with women, wine, liquor, and so forth. Cars, beautiful women, everything. Handsome men also. If you buy this product, selling to women, you will attract so many handsome men to you, like this. So in this way, the world is going on under the spell of sex attraction. So this is described by Lord Rishabhadev in his teachings to his sons. He says, Pumsastriya mituni bhava me tam tayor mito hridaya grantamahu aho griha kshetra sutapta vriter janasya moho yamaham mameti. So Lord Rishabhadev says that the basic principle of material life is the attraction between male and female. And on the basis of this attraction, which ties together the hearts of a man and woman very strong, it's a very strong knot, this is Hridaya Granthi, that on the basis of this, then his illusion is further compounded. Ato griha kshetra sutapta vriter. So thereafter, griha, man and woman come together, they're married. Now they have to have a nice home. Just like, not just humans, but even the animals. This pervades all living entities. Just like outside at gate number 3, there's a couple of eagles that are building a nest on top of the light post. Has anyone seen that? So they're very busy building a nest because they've come together. So human beings, same way, have to get a house. Aho griya kshetra, your body, you take care of your beauty, your education, and so forth. Suta, children. Apta, other relatives. Viter, wealth. You're concerned with all these things. Janasya moho yamaham mameti. So, in this way, we start thinking in terms of the illusion of I and mine. This is the system. This is the way that the material world functions. So, spiritual life means breaking out of this illusion. And so we see that the immediate problem for us is that the world, the facilities that we have, just like in the city of Maharaj Parajana, the body, in this case, the allegory is with the city, is that cities have to arrange for the sense gratification of the citizens. Nice parks, nice lakes. If anyone's been to New York, it's a very wonderful city, and there's Central Park. It's a very beautiful park, actually, very amazing. Then surrounding that park, there's this wonderful nightlife, and you can easily become bewildered by all these things. So the standard of civilization today is to promote sex life. That we promote all of these nice facilities for sense enjoyment. And the chief of these enjoyments is sex. Therefore, in modern society today, all the institutions and even the religion is centered on sex life. So we send the children to school. They follow a government syllabus. This government syllabus is teaching us aham mameti, that you are this body. So Srila Prabhupada, on innumerable occasions, therefore called the modern education, the schools, slaughterhouses. Why are they slaughterhouses? Because it perpetuates this illusion. It's the killer. It's killing the soul. So, in our Krishna consciousness society, our immediate problem is what to do about this. That society is actually militating against the Krishna consciousness. It's saying, forget about this Krishna consciousness. Just take to sex life. Take to become a grihamedi. So, our antidote, our social solution to this, is to take the opposite approach. Instead of these nice facilities for sense gratification, we should build nice facilities for vairagya. How to take the opposite. So therefore, civilized life, we see that there's some separation between male and female. Even in the Grihastha ashram, the husband and wife should not associate too closely. Only under limited circumstances should they come together. What to speak of brahmacharis and sannyasis. And we can see practically that practically all the problems in the world are coming because of indulgence in sex attraction. So, just like, for example, in the world, sometimes Delhi comes in the world news for some wrong reasons. It's because some young woman got raped or whatever. So Delhi's become infamous for this kind of thing. But the reason these things are happening more and more is because more and more men and women are intermingling in society. So after coming back to India, long term, after a hiatus of about 17, 18 years, about close to 20 years, the one thing that struck me about life in the city here in Delhi is that I see everywhere young men, even older men and women, holding hands everywhere they go. They come even in the temple. You know, some young couple comes there, you can frequently see they're holding hands. So this not just affects the Hindus, but also Christians and Muslims who live here. It was just in Paharganj the other day. There's a lady wearing a burqa, going with her husband. They were holding hands. So this Kali, the influence of Kali, is becoming more and more felt, even in Bharatavarsha. Of course, we know that the influence that Kali appeared here first in Bharatavarsha, when he enticed Abraham. Shri Shri Radha Parthasarthi ki jai, Shri Shri Gaurnitai ki, Shri Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanumanji ki jai. So, when the Brahmin boy, Shringi, he cursed Maharaj Parikshit, that was the entrance of Kali into the world. And so from that point forward, with the degradation of the Brahmins communities, the Brahmanas could not protect the religious principles of the Kshatriyas and the other orders of the society. And when the Kshatriyas, they became more and more materialistic, they of course fell down. And now the rule by the Kshatriyas, the monarchy, has been abolished in society. And so now you have only Vaishyas and Shudras. Even the Vaishyas are not pious anymore. And so now you just have the society that's literally being run on the basis of the belly and the genitals. So the Krishna consciousness movement, one of the reasons for the existence of the Krishna consciousness movement is to counteract these irregularities. In the charter that Srila Prabhupada created, he said that the first purpose was to teach the techniques of spiritual life in order to reverse the imbalances in life, in society at large. That's one of our objectives. So, what would a society, a Krishna conscious society, actually look like? So, the difference between the modern corporatist society and a Krishna conscious society, one of the differences is that economic development will not be stressed as much. So, one of the things that happened in Western society is in the 20th century there were two great wars. And so, after those two great wars, one thing that happened is that many, many men, millions and millions of men were killed. So during the war and after the war, because there's so few men, in order to sustain the war effort, women had to take up many jobs that men did. And also because there's a deficit of men in society, you had so many women who needed a man, and that increased the proliferation of illicit sex in society. So we can see from the Bhagavad Gita and Arjuna's initial objection to fighting, that this is how a Varna Sankara society comes into being. So when the elders are killed off in society, then the women become free to intermingle with the men. And you'll notice the men aren't complaining. This is a tendency, the material tendency. Men want to enjoy with women, women want to enjoy with men, so, well, what to do? So, we've got all these empty jobs, these jobs that need to be done. We have these women who are looking for the attention of men, and there are plenty of men who are willing to oblige them. Then, what happens is, then they come together, and then they produce so many unwanted children. And these unwanted children, these are called Varna Sankara, and they create so much disturbance in society. So, this is what America and the other Western countries have come to. That practically speaking now, we see in the United States of America that although it's supposedly the most advanced country in the world, we see that it is actually going through a period of advanced social decay. So, the politics has become very harsh, very nasty. There's a breakdown of law and order. There's conflict between branches of government, whereas before those conflicts were much less, and so forth. There's increased drug use. Even when I was much younger, there was so much drug use. As everybody knows, that the Hare Krishna movement started with the hippies who were into using drugs. But now, even this has become much more and more of a problem in the United States. So, in the United States, one statistic that might surprise some of you is that 40%, more than 42, 43% of all children born in the United States are born to unmarried women. Now, this isn't just the teenagers, some very, very young girls, but 75% of the women who are having children are older than 20 years old. So this is age of majority, and they're choosing to have children outside of marriage. So illicit sex has proliferated beyond anybody's imagination, even the Americans' imagination in society. 20, 30 years ago, within living memory, no one could have anticipated this. So, the next destination is you're going to have social strife. The countries break down. They have civil wars. They turn on each other. They become dysfunctional. They become poor. They become poverty-stricken, and so forth. So America, although it is a very, very strong country right now, it is on its way down. And it's picking up speed. And we can see also India, although there's great promise, and we have this, it's called Udgar. It's coming up, and there's something, how to make India, like a national, world leader, how to make a world leader. Well, here's a hint. Having boys and girls and people in society in general mixing together, that's not a recipe for success. Definitely not. And we should keep this in mind because we have all these big corporations now, and these corporations, they're actually promoting this, intermingling of the sexes. They say, it's like you have the men and the women and these corporate, in these big corporations, no discrimination. The problem is, and I guarantee you that in this situation, you're going to have a lot of illicit sex going on. You're going to have a lot of broken marriages. You're going to have a lot of divorce. You're going to have a lot of illegitimate children. These things are going to be on the uptick. And because people look up to the people in these positions in the corporation, that they're setting the example for other people in society. And that they are going to encourage more and more of this. So it's not even just a vicious cycle, it's a vicious snowball. So there's not much experience of snow here in India where the climate is very nice. But when I was young, we'd go to a hill. Because I used to live in a very cold place, we'd get maybe 10 to 12 feet of snow a year. That's about 3-4 meters of snow a year. It would actually snow that much. And so we'd play outside with my friends, and we'd take a ball, and especially if it was like a day where it was a little warm, the snow was a little wet, then we'd take a ball, and then we'd roll it down the hill, and as the ball rolled down the hill, it would pick up more and more snow. So by the time it got down to the bottom of the hill, we'd have this giant boulder of snow. Big, nice, packed boulder of snow. So that's what's happening here now, is that more and more we're seeing this intermingling of men and women in Indian society now. So we have to preach intelligently against this kind of thing. There is no alternative. So the book distribution, and Delhi is number 1 in book distribution in the world. Hare Krishna. Should be proud of this. So along with the book distribution, we also have to explain these points to the people who get the books. This is also a very important part of the mission. We have to explain these things. We have to be able to give a vision to society. We're the Brahmanas. Even if we're not that Brahminical, by default, no one is preaching these kinds of things in the world today. So we're the Brahmanas. And as Brahmanas, we have to give the vision. What is this society? Even in minuscule affairs, even in domestic affairs, we have to give this vision. Just like some time ago, there was there was a devotee. He asked me not to mention his name, but he's from a family of Brahmanas from Tamil Nadu, Sri Vaishnavas. And he told me that in his house, one day, you see his sister used to get a glass of milk for his father every morning. For their father. Just, for breakfast. Then one day, father asked her, "What is your age?" And she said, "I'm 12 years old." And he said, "From today onwards, you do not get me any more milk. You do not serve me anything. Only your mother will serve me." So this is Vaishnav culture. This is Vedic culture. Srila Prabhupada mentions in here, he's referring to the verse spoken by Yayati, and also in Manusmriti. This is Matra svasra duhitra va na viviktasano bhavet indriya balavan gramo vidvam sams apikarshati. That one should not sit on the same seat with one's mother, sister, or daughter. For even if one, because the senses are so strong that even though one may be advanced in Vedic culture and Vedic principles, and is thoroughly familiar with the proper etiquette in dealing with women, he may still become bewildered by sex attraction. So, this is how we have to organize our personal lives and our public lives and society at large. The demons are opposed to this, of course, because they're very fond of sex attraction, and therefore any arrangement they can make to promote this is something they very much like. But we nonetheless have to push forward with this, starting with ourselves. Srila Prabhupada, in a conversation in Vrindavan, April 14th, 1977, he was discussing this problem because at that point that the International Society for Krishna Consciousness was a success. But it was so much of a success that we started having problems. We had swamis, whatever, they had some illicit association with women, and Srila Prabhupada wanted to stop this. So he said, Varnashram must be implemented. So the Varnashram principles are for cutting down this sex attraction. That is the main purpose. There are other purposes. Srila Prabhupada talked about living simply, having more time for chanting Krishna consciousness. But the main purpose of the Varnashram institution is to cut down this sex attraction. Therefore, pumsastriya mituni bhavame tam. And we find also, interesting thing in Manusmriti, that the purpose of the Varna Dharma, the purpose of the Varnas, is to actually promote the protection of women. Manu says, Imam hi sarva varnanam pashyanto dharmam uttamam yatante rakshatum bharya bartaro durbala api. That he says that it is seen that, and for all the dharmas, the uttama dharma is the protection of women. It is so important that even weak husbands must strive to protect their wives. Well, that's a very interesting arrangement, that we're talking about Varna Dharma, and the highest purpose of Varna Dharma is the protection of women. In other words, the occupations in society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, are to be arranged such that this attraction, this sex attraction, is minimized. So therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is against the corporatist policy of non-discrimination. Of course, nowadays, sometimes we try not to say that loudly, so that because we're trying to attract corporate talent to the Krishna consciousness movement. But this is the truth nonetheless. That we have to arrange the social the occupations in society in such a way that we minimize this sex attraction. So education. What is the traditional education? The traditional education is not in a school where you put boys and girls together and they go to dances and so forth. But the traditional education is the Gurukula. So what does Gurukula mean? So this is the family guru, that the brahmachari from the age of 5, he goes and he lives at the home of the guru. Why does he live at the home of the guru? Why doesn't he live at home and just go to school? The guru is a brahmana. He's an acharya. He's in sattva gun. And your parents may not be brahmanas. They may not be in sattva gun. If you're a kshatriya and you associate with your parents, then that's more rajagun. But you associate with the brahmana, then there's more sattva gun. So we can see practically that in the Gurukul, that by association with and service to the acharya, one not only gets education, as it is normally understood, but one acquires the gunas. One acquires the sattva gun. And it is this tinge of sattva gun throughout the occupations that will promote a more peaceful, more Krishna-conscious society. So, the establishment of traditional gurukuls is very much in line with the objectives of the Krishna consciousness movement. So, there's one thing I wanted to read before concluding here. This is very important. This is about the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, specifically the summary given by Srila Prabhupada at the end of the chapter in the Antya Lila on the chastisement of Chota Haridas. Just to recap the pastime, one day Bhagavanacharya, who was a very wonderful, learned devotee, wanted to invite Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for lunch. And so he was cooking vegetables and rice, and he asked Chota Haridas, who was a sannyasi and a singer in the association of Mahaprabhu, to beg some rice from Madhavi Devi. So Madhavi Devi, she's a very special soul. She's counted as one of the intimate associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 3.5 intimate associates. One was Swarup Damodar Goswami. Another was Ramananda Roy. Another was Shiki Mahiti, and he's the third one. And the half one is considered Shiki Mahiti's sister, Madhavi Devi. So Bhagavanacharya dispatched Chota Haridas to beg some rice from her. So Chota Haridas went, begged some rice, and while he begged some rice, he glanced lustfully at Madhavi Devi. And Madhavi Devi, she's a very, very old woman. You know, she's elderly. She's an elderly woman. But nonetheless, the attraction between male and female is so strong that this kind of thing can happen. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was, Bhagavanacharya served lunch to Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu asked about the rice. He said, "Where did you get this rice from?" And Bhagavanacharya said that I begged this rice, from Madhavi Devi. He said he did. He didn't even say that he had Chota Haridas did. He said he did. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's the omniscient, supreme personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. He knows everything. And so then he told Govinda, from this day, Chota Haridas is not allowed here. And so he was not allowed, wasn't allowed to come, and finally devotees inquired about it. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained why he was banished from his company. And when Mahaprabhu explained why he was banished from the company, Mahaprabhu, he quoted this verse, Matra swasra duhitra vana viviktasano bhavet indriya balavan gramo vidvam sams api karshati. That one should not sit on the same seat with one's mother, sister, or daughter, for the senses are so strong that they can bewilder even the intelligence of a very learned man for sex attraction. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions that. And Srila Prabhupada, he also notes that this comes from both the Bhagavatam, this is found word for word both in the Bhagavatam and Manusmriti. So from this incident, there are many lessons. And of course, Chota Haridas, he left his body at Prayag, purified himself, and he came back into the association of Mahaprabhu. So I just want to read this this summary of the chapter. So instructions from the chapter. Summarizing this chapter, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that one should derive from it the following lessons. 1. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is an incarnation of mercy, he nevertheless gave up the company of one of his personal associates, namely Junior Haridasa. For if he had not done so, pseudo-devotees would have taken advantage of Junior Haridasa's fault by using it as an excuse to live as devotees and at the same time have illicit sexual connections. Such activities would have demoralized the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and as a result, devotees would surely have gone to a hellish life in the name of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. 2. By chastising Junior Haridas, the Lord set the standard for acharyas, or the heads of institutions propagating the Chaitanya cult, and for all actual devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to maintain the highest standard. 3. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed that a pure devotee should be simple and free from sinful activities, for thus one can be his bona fide servant. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught his followers how to observe the renounced order strictly. 4. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to prove that his devotees are exalted and that their character is ideal. He kindly accepts his faithful devotees and teaches them how much tribulation and disturbance can be produced by even a slight deviation from the strict principles of devotional life. 5. By chastising Junior Haridas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited his mercy toward him, thus showing how elevated was Junior Haridas's devotion for him. Because of this transcendental relationship, the Lord corrected even a slight offense committed by his pure devotee. Therefore, one who wants to be a pure devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should give up all material sense gratification. Otherwise, the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are very difficult to attain. 6. If one dies in such a celebrated holy place as Prayag, Mathura, or Vrindavan, one can be relieved of the reactions to sinful life and then attain the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. 7. Although a pure or faithful devotee may fall down, he nevertheless ultimately gets the chance to go back home, back to Godhead by the mercy of the Lord. I would like to conclude here, and if there are any questions or discussion, that's invited at this time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you particularly for quoting Srila Haridas Thakur's Haridas episode and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. But one thing I see clarification in your discourse, you mentioned that the purpose of Varnashram Dharma is women protection. Did you?
That's what Manu Smriti says. Well, he says that's the highest purpose of Varna Dharma.
But we see that Vishnu Aradate Pamtha Na Anyat Dosha Karanat, that it is the worship of Lord Vishnu. Varnashram Acharet Purusha. That sloka is there.
Yes, and therefore, this in the purport to the Bhagavad Gita, Yata Pravirtir Bhutanam Yena Sarvam Idam Tatam. So karma na tamabhyarchya siddham vindati manavaha. So the Prabhupada, he talks about how one should execute his duties. So one should think that because Rishikesh is the master of the senses, and that if one is born as a man or a woman, then one receives a particular set of senses and one should worship according to that. So becoming Krishna conscious and pleasing Krishna means becoming free of the material attraction. So Varnashram itself is external. Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his discourse with Ramananda Rai said Eho Baya, that this is external. So therefore, Varnashram is meant to help us come to the point of, to help us come to that point of being on the platform to execute bhakti. So the main stumbling block in society is this pumsastriya mitani bhava metam. So, according to Manu, the Varnas are arranged to minimize this attraction. That is how the Varnashram does. Otherwise, just by performing one's Varnashram duties, dharmas vanustata pumsam vishvaksena katasuya nopadaya diti ratim shama ivi kevalam. That you can perform your duties nicely, but if it doesn't bring you to that rati, that taste for hearing and chanting, it's a waste of time. So therefore it's external. So that's its utility in helping us come to that point. Any other further question, any line of inquiry about it?
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for your wonderful lecture. So the point is here, Nadad Vihangali Kule Kolahal. So Kolahal means noise, so much noise. So in this society there is so much noise, the filmy songs, the songs which are related to the attraction of male and female. So this is actually the increasing the impulse, the attraction of men and women. And when Prabhupada was establishing this movement, so he saw that in this West it is not possible. Just like Bhakti Siddhanta created mathas, so only brahmachari and sannyasis, no more grihastha, no more women. So Prabhupada saw that this is not possible here. Then he arranged himself marriages, and also brahmacharis and grihasthas. Everybody has to work together. So then Prabhupada thought that if they follow the rules of devotional service, then they will be protected. So rules of devotional service, we have to follow strictly the rules of devotional service, mainly chanting. We have to sing these songs, bhajans, Vaishnava bhajans, or Hare Krishna mantra. So this sound will protect us.
Yes. This sound will protect us, and that's why it's very nice observation about the noise, the sense gratification, and therefore that has to be counteracted with kirtan. We have to drown out the noise, and therefore the rathayatras and so forth. There's a rathayatra today, so that has to be. That was Srila Prabhupada. He very much wanted to see this around the world. And one additional point I want to make following on from that is that just like in the West, it was not possible for the men and the women to, stay apart. What's very nice though is that the Shastras still explain all sorts of, why we see the kinds of problems that we see. So one may not feel that certain things are appropriate here, but may not necessarily be appropriate in the West. One should still try to see how the world is explained through the eyes of Shastra, and that will give the way. So, it's for me, coming from America, being an American, and seeing these descriptions in the Bhagavad Gita, just like I explained, or just like it was explained earlier, how in the West there was also this conception that there was a separation of man and woman. Even in my lifetime, I could remember there was much more separation. And then, because these things were gradually eroded, then you have so many problems in society. Why 40% of all children are born outside of marriage in America? Well, it's because it's a Varna Sankrita society. And how did it become a Varna Sankrita society? The same way that Sri Arjuna said, societies become Varna Sankrita society. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a universal Shastra. It is meant for everybody all over the world because it gives the correct vision by which we can understand things as they are. So, any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you mentioned to protect from sex desire, the Prabhupada established this Varnashram Dharma. And Rushabdev quoted this verse, Punsam Striyam Maitanya Bhavam Etat. The beginning of the 5th chapter, Rushabdev said, Tapo Divyam Putraka Jena Suddheta Sattam Jena Brahma Sukhyam to Anantam. This body you can use for the tapasya. Nayang Deha Deha Bhajan Naruloke. But the Divya Tapa, it is mentioned. What is that Divya Tapa? It is just like in Bhagavad Gita, there are 3 types of tapasya, Saririk, Manasik and Vachasik. Devadija Guru Pragyam Pujanam Sauchamarjavam Brahmacharya Hingsang Cha Sarirang Tapa Uchyate Anudvegam Karam Bhakyam Satyam Priyam Hitam Chajat Swadhaya Abhyasanang Chaiva Bangmayam Tapa Uchyate Manaprasada Samyatam Atma Vinigraham. So these 3 types of the tapasya. But what is the Divya Tapasya?
Well, the Divya Tapasya, so the next verse, after those 3 verses, I can't quote it, I can't remember it now, but it says that all of these verses, that those tapasyas, they have to be done in sattva gun. They have to be done without attachment, without any desire for any kind of reward. Because, take for example, like truthfulness, okay, satyam, okay. What if you're truthful for some, for some alternate, for some other reason? I'll give you an example. Benjamin Franklin, he's a very famous person. I think everyone's heard of Benjamin Franklin. Maybe not. Anyway, he was a statesman and one of the founders of America. And so he had a little booklet on the moral maxims. So he said that, for example, you don't overeat because it creates so many problems. And so he said about truthfulness that you're truthful so that people will trust you. Okay? So that's an example of satyam in Rajagun. You want to get people to trust you, but what if you can get people to trust you some other way? Okay? What if you can get people, then you're not always necessarily going to be truthful if the other way works. You're like friends with them or something like that, then you're not necessarily truthful. So that divya, it becomes divya when it's performed for the sake of the Supreme, for the sake of spiritual advancement, and without expectation of result.
But that tapasya, what you said, that the next verse, Sradhaya Parya Taptam Tapastas Trividham Nari Apadakanki Virchukte Satikam Parichakyate. That tapasya also the satik, that is the modes of goodness.
Yes.
But what is the divya? Divya is the transcendental, that is the modes of 3 modes of nature. So what is the transcendental tapasya? Tapo divyam.
Tapo divyam. Well, then this is the Shuddha Sattva platform. As it said in the Bhagavatam, Rajas Tamas Chasatvena Sattvam Chopashamena Cha, that one should elevate, one should conquer the modes of passion and ignorance by goodness, and then by goodness one should become detached from that and come to the Shuddha Sattva platform, the pure platform. So this Divya Tapasya is therefore, at this stage, one can begin worship of the personality of Godhead. One engages Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. So that's where we end up. That's the Divya Tapasya. Perhaps you have a better understanding you can share with us. Please, no.
Hare Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna described everything in mode of the 3 modes of nature, Sattvic, Rajas, Tamas. In Bhagavatam, describes 4 kinds of everything, whether it is tapasya or the food or sacrifice, everything in 4 kinds. So tamas and rajas and sattvic and then nirguna. So nirguna can be said as divyam. So nirguna means to please the Krishna. When we perform everything to please Krishna, then it becomes nirguna. And when we perform everything out of duty, this is out of sense of duty, this is sattvic. But when we perform tapasya or yajna, anything to please Krishna, then it becomes transcendental or divyam.
Thank you. Yes, that's Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, ultimately. One interesting, that supports that is in the discussion of the mixed modes of mixed devotional service, that devotional service tinged with sattva gun is characterized by someone worshiping the Lord to become free from the ill effects of his material activities. That's devotional service in sattva gun. So when you're purified of that, then you're only thinking of the Lord.
Thank you. Now you can discuss personally with him. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.